don't even try because we so behind. But my thing about it is, if we don't try, and if nobody don't put the work in, then how do we get better as a people?
I'm very true. I mean, um, I think a major focus would be education, not just education meaning like academics.
Right.
Because we're going to have a show coming up where we're going to talk about how there are so many social issues that the school cannot address because their main function is academia. I don't know why we don't look at this from a holistic standpoint. Why are the police not involved? Why are community programs not involved? And the school is a place where you can get a whole lot of children all at one time. You have to build time and space in a school day when you have the attention of these children. Not only that, you need to have programs in the evening because I can give you everything that you need during the school day. You can even come to my after school program. But the reality is these children are still going to go home to parents who could care less, or who can't, or who have to work 10 jobs just to make it. Yeah, so it has to be a holistic approach in which we garner the support from a whole lot of different people, a whole lot of different avenues. Your local and state governments, like I said, the police, community associations,
So that right
community
there, you make a
programs.
good point. And that's why I do agree and like the Baltimore consent decree because it's supposed to be, and it is that exact approach. Bring as many resources and organizations in together to work on solving these issues. So the consent decree is basically supposed to be working on building a better relationship and building a better police structure in Baltimore, handed down by the Department of Justice. But they have realized and recognized the Department of Justice saying and the Baltimore City Police Department that the problems are way bigger than the police. So the approach needs to be holistic. We need to bring in other community members, faith-based community, the communities, the churches, the hospitals, social service. Everybody needs to come in and start working on this together. So what you just said is basically, like you just said, a holistic approach. All these organizations, all these corporations, all of these, different institutions need to start working together as in a full circle, one hand washing the other instead of everybody working as separate entities and not just bringing these things together because it's going to take a big heavy lifting to fix the problems that are going on in these impoverished communities. So people that live in poverty, which is majority Black and Latinos, highly Black, people that live in poverty are faced with bad loans. They are faced with
Predatory lending. It's not that they're bad; it's that they purposely seek you out.
Right. So
yeah.
that's when, and a lot of people don't know, maybe what redlining is. Redlining is basically certain areas that were forced, that Black people were forced to, and said that you only could afford to live here, or your loan could only put you there. And it was a highly populated community that was high poverty, high crime, high violence. And if you wanted to be a homeowner, your loans were pushed towards a certain community, and you were blocked out from moving and living in other communities, which highly populated certain communities with only Black people that consisted of low income, low resources, low schools, and things like that. Redlining kept people in a certain community that they couldn't really move outside of, and they didn't really know it. The banks gave out extremely bad loans. You thought you qualified for a loan, you went and got this house, and then a couple of months or years later, the loan and the interest bubbled. So your payment went from maybe $700 a month to now $1,000 a month, and then maybe another year, 2 years from now, is 1,100, 1,200. Well, you signed up for $700, $800 a month. Now your loan payment is $1,200. That's what caused a lot of these foreclosures in the city that they couldn't afford.
A lot more house than what you could afford.
Right.
A whole lot more house than what you could afford. So in 2017, there were 2.2 million people in prison, which is ridiculous. So I'm still looking for statistics that say how many of those people, if we can break that down in race, or by state. Because it seems like Maryland is in the middle. It doesn't seem like we're above, but even still across the nation, 2.2 million people. You know, let's think of how many of those people have families, how many people, you know, have children depending on them. We'll have a guest on April the 8th. She's a lady, her husband is currently incarcerated, but she had to put her children or child through college by herself. So she started a nonprofit to send other children of incarcerated parents to college. So we'll get a chance to hear about her story, and look at what she's doing to the sort of community. She has a fundraiser that's coming up. But I mean, I think all of these things play into this whole agenda that Wesley always talks about.
Right.
It's just cyclical. It just keeps happening over and over and over again.
Yeah, I just have something to say. I know you're talking about all these programs and stuff, but it's the mentality of the people as well.
I agree.
You know, you have some people that just don't have no respect for women, no respect for elderly. Back in the days, women, elderly, and children was off limits. Now, nobody's off limits. People don't have the respect. They don't have the morals, the ethics. They don't have any of that nowadays. It's just totally out the window. These young kids out here cursing like a sailor in front of adults. I mean, we would never do that as kids growing up. Not my era, at least. You know, it's a new generation. And how do you change the mindset? You have to change the mindset
By having a holistic approach. There are hundreds of children in any given school at any time.
Right.
If you did a pilot program of the most impoverished neighborhoods and just do like focus groups, figure out how many people you can bring to the table to look at this concept or this idea of this holistic approach. And you know, I was talking about it for high school. High school is probably a little bit too late.
Yes.
But we have a lot of things like we were talking about the boys who were going out and they were raping the women and all that kind of stuff, why that was becoming a trend. There's an issue in a lot of places that we aren't really looking at diversion programs, prevention programs, things that we can do before we get these children.
Right.
Before these children cross the line. Because my whole thing is, before they get there, I think as adults we're missing a lot. There's such a great disconnect that that line is so easily crossed. And I know it seems like we're jumping all over the place, but this is all incorporated into this same thing. Because I'm interested in understanding, why are these children embracing this mentality, this behavior, these illegal behaviors? Where is it coming from?
Right.
You know, why is it okay? And we're talking people who have structure in their family, in their households. It's not always that, oh, their parents weren't there or they were this and that. These children are meeting up with other children.
It's society, though, and I speak on that all the time. Society is pushing, especially social media, the news, like social media, the news, these newspapers, these magazines, these movies, the radio, the music. A lot of this stuff is pushing heavy agenda on being negative, and being the bad person, the bad guy is being praised. For some reason, being the bad guy is getting more attention than the man that's positive, motivating, and uplifting. I speak on it all the time. If you have, you know, a man or a grown man or a young man out here posting guns, money to his ear, talking about, you know, derogatory things about women all the time, just doing the most disrespectful things, for some reason, he gets a lot of attention. I keep saying it, for some reason, people gravitate towards that. But when you have a young man or a grown man pushing positive messages, motivation, real life lifting up situations, people look at it like, oh, nobody want to hear this preaching. Nobody just want to. Why? Why is that mindset? Or like I said
Because
before,
it's
like
quicker and easier to ignore that and just continue to do what you've been doing. Do what
exactly.
you know. It's quicker and easier.
So it's like people don't want to hear what's real. If you doing wrong and I'm doing wrong, how can you say something to me when we both doing wrong? I just had this same conversation with a set of young ladies that I know. You know, they both doing stuff, and I inserted and said something to one of them, and she was like, "Oh, Wes, you coming up judgmental? My friends don't say nothing." And I said, "Well, how can or why would your homegirls say something to you when they doing the same exact thing, or maybe even worse?" So when you living in a society where so many people are just doing whatever, how dare you adjust or address me and what I'm doing, and you doing something too? Like, how can you tell your girlfriend don't go cheat on her husband or her boyfriend or her fiance when she know you just cheat, or when she know you flirt when you looking at somebody else? How dare you? So that's a part of it as well. So nowadays it's like, how dare you say something to me when your kids is doing this? How dare you say something to me when you ain't got nothing going on at your house? So it's like, instead of living a way that is more uplifting, motivating, positive, and structured, so many of us are caught on just doing and living reckless and free and lawless in just so many ways. It's like, oh, don't say nothing to me because I'm going to pull your car.
Right. All right, so we have a few comments. So Dimitri is saying this is why offices like the state's attorney is taking a holistic approach. We are trying to figure out the root of the issue instead of bringing you in contact with the criminal justice system. Mm-hmm. We need more people to step up. So Dimitri, I'm going to catch up with you after the show.
I need to connect with her as well.
That's not coming out. We'll talk with you after the show. Ms. Young is saying debt, bad credit, and not wanting more in life, seeing the benefits of home ownership is something I saw a lot of in my profession. So, I mean, and these goals and aspirations and all of this other kind of stuff, when people don't know any better, like home ownership is just like something like the last thing on their mind.
Yeah, but so, I be saying that all the time. They don't know.
Yeah, so I'm not in disagreement that they don't know, but what I am saying is that's probably the least of their concerns. Right. You know, if I don't even know how I'm gonna pay next month's rent,
right?
Who cares about owning a house? How do I even think that I have the ability to do that?
But that also goes into what I be saying. People don't be having life insurance. Because they don't feel like they can afford the extra $20, $30, $40, $50 coming out of that check when they only making a couple dollars anyway. So how can I afford an extra $50 coming off of life insurance?
Right.
So so it's just
we had a show on that. Check out my girl SaveWithTamara.com. I mean, we had the simple things that we think logically everybody must have. A lot of people make those things secondary to what it is that they're looking at. So let's go back to some of the things that ACE scores are predicting and some of the health outcomes. So these things are rated among the top 10 leading causes of death in the U.S. Suicide, cardiovascular disease, diabetes, emphysema, and cancer. How many Black people do you know with at least one of those things? Mm-hmm. Diabetes is taking over.
Taking people out at a high level.
Yes, I mean it's crazy. So that's showing you how it can affect you, and those are the most serious things. But other things you have is smoking, alcohol abuse, drug abuse, high risk sexual behavior, depression, anxiety, PTSD. We talked about that earlier. Hallucinations, obesity, liver disease, headaches, autoimmune diseases, sexually transmitted infections, self-reported health, disability, and fetal death. And fetal death, that was something that was a hot topic just a few months ago, where they were talking about how African American women were more likely to die in childbirth than any other group, which I wasn't understanding because science is the same for everybody. So I thought. So, when you have more of these ACEs, the likelihood of you having these issues are greater. So some of the attributable risk of these adverse childhood experiences include HIV, heavy alcohol drinking. HIV is up there, 58.9%, 55.7% in anxiety, mental health treatment, 42.7%, which I think anxiety goes hand in hand with that. Hopelessness, that's just like a feeling, so that's 42.5%. Other mental health conditions that disturb 14 or plus days of work and activity. I can go on about that because sometimes the things that are happening in the places of employment contribute to that. 61.4%. Life dissatisfaction, that quality of life, is the highest rated thing. And do you think that people in these situations, how do you think they rate their quality of life? If it's normal to you, how do you, I mean, do you think they're even dissatisfied with life, or is
Yeah,
it?
even though it's normal, a lot of people still aren't happy. Like that's why it's so much dysfunction going on in their houses. That's why so many of these young kids are like having extremely bad attitudes. They negative, they angry, but they don't know why they angry. So when you have a lot of fights at the school, when you have a lot of relationships not working out, and you fighting and yelling at each other all the time, when you are frustrated, but you don't know why you frustrated. The reason why you don't know why, because your lifestyle has become normalized to you, but that doesn't mean it has still inflicted that trauma on you. That trauma then turns around and makes you depressed, makes you give you anxiety attacks and all these other things that you go through, health issues, and you don't know why you're going through that. Majority of the people who are walking around here sick, they don't really know that they're sick because a lot of people are self-medicating. They self-medicating with even the cigarettes, they self-medicating with the alcohol. They self-medicating with, the marijuana. Whatever they doing, that pills that they on, whatever they self-medicating with, they don't realize why they always need to get a drink. They don't realize why they always need to smoke this cigarette. They don't realize why they even smoking crack cocaine or shooting heroin. They don't get it because a lot of them don't understand what the trauma has done to them. A lot of them don't understand the abuse and the things they've been through, why they run into it, but they know they run into something to feel better.
Right, or they just don't know that they have had a traumatic experience. They just don't know that that's even a thing. So some of the other things that these adverse childhood experiences are interrelated to are emotional abuse. You see that in a lot of our relationships. Physical neglect of these children, of course, and domestic violence. Those are the three highest interrelated things. Some of the other things that they looked at was the incarcerated care provider or parent, household mental illness, household substance abuse, parental separation or divorce, emotional neglect, sexual abuse, and physical abuse, which we all know that these things happen a lot in families. You know that for sure. So when we look at outcomes, when you look at job problems, work absenteeism, and financial problems, if your score is 4 or more, those things jump up significantly. All three of them are serious issues no matter where you are. Even with the zero, those things are actually happening and occurring. But the higher your number is, the worse these problems get.
But another thing, a lot of people don't understand how the body works. They just don't. They don't understand how the body sends certain signals and chemical effects. They don't understand how the body really breaks down when it comes to, emotional problems. So if a person is going through a lot emotionally and suffering through a lot of trauma, they don't know how the chemical advancement may affect their livelihood. Like you can look extremely old or sick at a young age because of your high level of trauma. People don't understand that. You can really get high levels of sickness going on. High blood pressure. There's people walking around here that have extremely high blood pressure and they don't even know their blood pressure is high because one, they're not getting themselves checked. It's normal to them, but they don't understand how high blood pressure is affecting their body long term. They don't understand how the stress, the drama, the depression, the anxiety, the drugs, and so many just negative things in lifestyle, the chemicals that is sent to you. Like why? Yo, we got people dying at 40 years old from heart problems, kidney problems. You know what I'm saying? Brain problems. They having like seizures and heart attacks and like just so many different problems. And they don't understand like what they going through mentally and what they put in their body, how it's affecting them.
Right. Definitely. So, I don't know how many times we can say it, but these things, again, you have to take a holistic approach because social problems that exist around this issue cover all areas of one's life. Job, work absenteeism, homelessness, exposure to violence, juvenile and criminal justice system involvement, poor academic achievement, and residential mobility. So one thing, I was arguing about it a couple of weeks ago. So Marilyn Mosby has decided that she was going to decriminalize marijuana possession. There was a guy who was just released from what is it called? Baltimore Pre-Release Complex now, MCC. He was released, and he was from South Carolina, and he, I think, had 10 pounds of marijuana. I don't know how that's possession, but anyway, he was released because in her new law, it doesn't say any particular amount, and so they're letting people out when they have this possession of marijuana. And we know that African Americans are more likely to be arrested for that anyway, or any crime in general. But, allowing these people to have a new chance, at being productive citizens. What do y'all think about that?
Me personally, people might not agree, but that's big. That's major to me. That's major to me because I look at it as a financial gain for systems that are already in place. If you look at it, if you break it down, more people die from smoking cigarettes and get sick and go through diseases from smoking cigarette or eating or chewing tobacco than anything else. But cigarettes are able to be sold almost every store that you walk in. You know why? Because cigarettes are taxed and cigarettes can be something that creates revenue for the structure of the government. Alcohol. More people die from alcohol type problems than they do, any other thing else. But alcohol can be taxed and provide revenue. Right now, marijuana, there is no like large database saying that marijuana makes you sick or kills you on a level of tobacco and alcohol. There's no people been trying to do research on it. They haven't been able to find it. They are even able to put people on medicated type marijuana for pain type reasons than actually get you sick. My problem coming in with is you sending people to jail for something that's not killing them, but we selling things that's killing people in the store, and you can go to the bar every single night. So how dare you, in my personal opinion,
or the pharmaceutical companies?
Right. So I'm about to get to that. So anytime you can make money off something that's the government,
Right.
they make it cool for society. Marijuana haven't been put into the box all the way yet that the government can make funds and revenue off of it.
They're getting rich right now with all of these medical marijuana dispensaries, and they are making a way to get their cut.
So that's my gripe. That's my gripe against it. Right. So that's where I go into problems with it at, because people will be upset about it. Good.
WMSK Online Radio. Hello. Yes.
Hi, Demetria.
Hi, cousin.
How are you?
Wonderful. How are you?
Good, thank you. I just wanted to call and comment. I don't have long on the conversation that y'all having. First of all, it's really a fresh air to see that, we have still young people that's trying to stop this horrible thing that's going on with these kids, trying to get to the root of the issue instead of just throwing them away. You know, we need more people like ourselves that's doing this. So what I was saying was, the Office of the State's Attorney, Chief Prosecutor Marilyn, she is taking a holistic approach. So that's why she made a whole community engagement that is dedicated to the community. My job is I work strictly with the community and I try to touch them because they come in contact with the criminal justice system. We have so many different programs that you can get involved with, that you can get into, that'll help you get your trained, get you mentorship to figure out what it is that you're going through, you know, get you a job. And we have programs that you can start as on elementary school. So, you know, approaches like that we are taking, that is kind of why she started with the marijuana law. You know, because marijuana, I mean, if you are caught selling it, then that's another issue. But we have a lot of people that's locked up for cutting marijuana. And we need to get these people out because it's more serious issues that's going on than you smoking some marijuana. It's just like the gentleman stated, cigarettes are killing you. Like, different things are killing you. Marijuana, I'm not saying that it's, you know, not bad for your health, but we just got to take a different approach to things. So that is why she did that with the marijuana bill, and I'm standing on it.
Right. We definitely thank you for your comment. Like I said, we're going to get with you a little bit later because again, we do have to come with a holistic approach. And it's great that things are happening on all different levels, especially with these young children. But again, we need to make sure there are supports, even after these people who get released from prison, then what? You know what I mean? Right. So we definitely have to look at how we can connect. So I'll definitely give you a call.
Definitely give me a call because I partnered with a couple of people. This guy, his name is Giorgio Antonio, and he has a great program that's strictly for people when they are released from prison and even when they're in federal halfway houses that gives them job training and gives them jobs no less than $20 an hour.
Right.
No matter their record. You know, so we do have a couple of people that's trying to stand in line and get this thing, you know, together.
Right, and another thing is the marketing campaign. Is this widely known to people? Do people really know about this? How can, I'll just call you after, we get out of here and, hopefully can come see you and everything and talk about some intricate details. But again, thank you for your comment. Thank you for calling. I love you. I'll talk to you later.
Love you too. Thank you. Have a great night, guys.
You too.
So that was major. That was major what she just said because we need to stop. Put that down. We need to stop, allowing certain things to happen. And you got to start looking at it from a certain understanding. Like I tell people all the time, like I had, went to a community meeting and one guy was like, they need to stop these kids from, throwing his weed in their backyard. Cool, understand. But my question in response to him was, so if they was in the backyard smoking cigarettes, would you have the same right? Would you have the same argument? So that's my point to a lot of people who are jumping and hopping on this marijuana thing. I am not an advocate for marijuana, but what I'm saying is if you look at it on a deeper level, we have people that are locked up for marijuana, but we not locking or sending people to jail for cigarette smoking. And cigarette smoking is more detrimental to your health than smoking, and it's like, so.
I think it's a matter of legality. Cigarettes are legal. Alcohol is legal.
But people don't understand what's really happening. So soon as the government and the structure start to make marijuana legal and then they can make money off of it, then what? Then everybody gonna be harping on it and saying it's, now it's cool to do it. No, you need to look at it on a deeper level because soon as it become legal, you ain't gonna have people looking at you like you're a villain no more.
Yeah.
it shouldn't be illegal in the first place.
But because it's part of the bigger agenda, if I can get you for something simple like marijuana possession or whatever, I can fill up my prisons. I can, because you make money off of it.
Right.
Prison is a bazillion-dollar
Yeah,
industry.
yeah,
Let's not even play with that. But just that, because that's exactly what it is. So the more you go in, we let you out. When you come back, the richer the prisons get. And I mean, that's just the harsh reality of it all. But again, even still, what about the marketing of these programs? Who knows about that? We heard about the marijuana law, but did we hear about the community action or whatever was mentioned? No, so let's get that out there. You know, as a probation agent, that's definitely something that I would want to connect my people to, especially with employment, because they're underemployed or not employed at all. You know, so again, if we take that holistic approach, there's no reason why these entities cannot work together. If I have probationers, people who are adversely affected by the criminal justice system and things within their community, and they need help, why can't I link them to a program that will help them with employment and all of these other things? So, you know, that's what I've been trying to do. My office is in Baltimore County, and I know that a lot of the programs or services are concentrated within the city. But again, we have people, homelessness is a serious thing. I have several homeless people on my caseload. A lot of them who live in the city because the resources are there.
Right.
Or camp in the city, whatever you want, you know what I mean.
But what blows me is society, a lot of people are quick to judge, but they're not quick to look at the why. What is the why? There are a lot of whys sometimes when a person is indulging in certain activities or living a certain way. What about the why? Why aren't we actually, one thing about this is you cannot lock up your way out of this problem. We can't continue to just overpopularize prisons and think that's going to fix it. If anything, that's going to create a worse chain to create more negative things coming back to your community, because when you lock up an individual, a lot of the times prison makes a person harder. It makes their heart darker.
Yes.
It makes their behavior worse. It makes their mind not clear on a higher level. So now one day, unless they have life, that person is coming back into the community, and you haven't taught them anything, you haven't given them no type of therapy, you haven't given them no type of trade or higher level of education, you just dropping them back out in the community. So one, you sent them to prison. Now they harden from the prison lifestyle. Two, they don't know more than what they came in with. They probably know more little schemes, but they don't know a higher level of, education.
We don't want to say that in totality, because there
I'm
are,
never speaking 100% time.
right, but I do want to make mention that there are opportunities for them to get some education. There's opportunities for them to get some vocational training. There's an opportunity for them to have their mental health needs addressed. So those things are there. I'm not saying that they're there in an abundance, but they are there. You have to want to participate in those things for them to work out for you. So let's not, pretend that it's not there.
No, that's so.
There are things there.
I
just wanted to clear it up.
That's like saying, it ain't no community trying to help the school. No. And she always do this. That's like me saying, it ain't no programs. It ain't no programs trying to help these kids out here in the schools. Yes, it's programs that's trying to help these kids, but the kids are so overwhelmingly behind. It's like the program is drowning, or the system telling you it ain't no fun.
Okay, but that's
not.
Just make sure there is some onus on the individual.
It's some programs that's in there. But what I'm saying is, just like she said before that, once they come home and they are recording the system, a lot of them can't get a job. And a lot of them don't know about the what Merlin Mosby and her office is trying to offer and help get these people jobs. So it's like, okay, they are doing these awesome, wonderful things over there at the state's attorney's office, but a lot of people don't know about it at a high level. And those that do, they can't reach everybody.
That's fine. I'm about to make some connections, because at least for my office, we can be a policy or, whatever, however it goes. So we're going to try to see how we can go at this at a holistic approach. However, it's a good thing that you mention when people are released from prison, because a lot of times they do suffer from PTSD because of that incarceration. However, they do not get any treatment. That issue is not something that's addressed or looked at. And a lot of times, they do have to look at those immediate needs, their housing, their employment, and things like that. So again, it's just so many different things. And I think that I don't work in prison anymore, but as a case manager, when I was, 4 years ago, there was a lot of things I tried to make sure that my people were leaving equipped. I couldn't save everybody, but exactly, Patterson. A lot of people don't want to work there waiting on SSI. You get that all the time. But again, that is built into that mentality. They don't want to work, or it's too hard to work, or they get defeated by not being able to
I
find
understand
work.
when people say that, but again, I don't understand it, because you gotta first, before you make statements like that, you gotta understand systematic oppression. You gotta understand what has happened first for generations and generations. Because people always,
about reality though.
It is reality, but what I'm saying is, if you want to say that, you need to understand how these things transition and happen. Our own people be like, yo, you don't want to do this. You have to understand where it came from first.
If you told me you don't want to work, and you wait on your SSI,
you have to understand where that comes from.
Okay, but that's besides the point. If you're not willing to work, you're not willing to get any programs, you're not willing to do anything that it is that I'm trying to connect you with, you're not trying to help yourself.
Majority of the jobs, to get out of these situations that you are in, you can't even make a good wage to even get out of it. So some people feel like, I've talked in
what
interviews.
Skills do you have to give the wage?
Can you let me explain? How can you get skills when you already so far behind? Who are you taking care of?
You can't jump all over the place, right? And you have to start from somewhere.
Right? Who is holding you down while you sitting around waiting? I know some women right now that want to go to college. They want to go. Who taking care of their kids? Who paying that rent for them to live first, for them to even get there?
Wesley, let's talk about the offender population. When they're in jail, they got so many girlfriends who sending them money, not paying their BG&E bill.
That's mentality, though.
The same finesse that you have when you're incarcerated to have your needs met.
I hate having this conversation with my own people. It hurts me. But you got to understand how it happens first. You have to understand how it happens first. It's a mentality that has been embedded. You have to understand what trauma is. You have to understand what oppression means. You have to understand these things have been taught to our people. People don't just wake up like this. Your baby don't wake up like that. That is taught to you. We have generations of people for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 years that have been put into these systems. And the reason why they think and behave and act like that is because it has been passed down of ignorance.
And
ignorance has been passed down.
I'm not refuting that. So even if you do say, oh, this is the reason why, how do we correct it without self-will and determination from the person? You educate them. You do all of those things. Despite all of that, where it came from, how it even started, I'm not refuting that.
You know why a lot of Caucasians use drugs at a high level, but it's easier for them to come back than us? I'm explaining why. Majority of them had that support system that regardless if they get high or not, when they finish using drugs, they have somebody that will carry that weight for them to get on their feet. So when you have somebody that is financially stable to carry you, hold you up while you get yourself together, now you can achieve your goal. Now you can go out there on your own. Majority of us don't have that. So when you fall, I'm not saying it's impossible, but some people feel like they don't even understand how they can start to get up because they don't have nobody that's going to help carry them.
But listen, if I can't even pay my own bills, how can I take care of a grown person who is not willing to get out here and do anything? Support goes, but so far. How long am I supposed to allow you to just live off of me until you get it together? That's how a lot of people burn their bridges, because you've lived off of so many people for so long. People aren't willing to help you and just be out there, especially when it's hard enough for you to take care of your own responsibilities. So Michael Graves is saying there are some states that have contracts with the prisons where they are suing the prisons for not having a certain number of incarcerated. And that's where they're talking about privatizing prisons and stuff like that. That's a pretty big thing. So Patterson corrected his statement and said some of his people, Patterson, some of my people too, because I get it all the time. Michael is saying there's a program through AIRS called GEAR, GEAR program. Only criteria is the participants must be receiving some form of public assistance, food stamps, TDAP, Medicaid, SSI. It's paid training, $10 an hour for 3 months, and job placement after completion. Right now, they are doing construction warehouse. Contact is Anthony Green. Thank you, Uncle. I'll be getting with you to talk about that. Patterson is saying don't give them that excuse. And Crystal is agreeing, saying, right, they can still work. Patterson is saying you got to start somewhere, and there are social programs. Cry him a river. And Crystal is saying, but they still have skills, but just have to have work ethic. And that's very true. They have to want whatever it is that you're going to give them. They have to want it. So one thing that I did want to do is all of these resources, all of these services and programs and things like that that can help people, we need to have something running. We need to have some connections. So something that our department is trying to do is they're trying to get us to go out into the community. So I keep saying that I'm going. I'm going, right? I'm gonna get out there. I'm gonna sign up for a state card. I'm gonna go out. So if you have any resources, make sure you send it to my email, openwideradioshow@gmail.com. We can get a list of resources and services so that we can start to educate the community, so that we can start to make these connections. Because as we said before, we have to save ourselves. But we can't keep living on things that have occurred in the past and trying to figure out. The why is important, but more so we have to deal with, the now. So Michael was saying two sides. I had clients who spent 1-3-5 years and come out with the mentality that they can't get a break because of their records. On the other side, I have clients that spent 20 plus years for murder and attempted murder and came out and did their thing. I think it all has to do with the will and determination of the person. Because everybody does not become a victim to their environment and their situation and things like that. And you overcome those things through sheer will and determination. A lot of people have pride in their way where they're not willing to go into some of these housing programs, homeless programs, and things like that, that you can get that support. Right. Because it's a lot easier to try to depend on family members and friends because it's more comfortable, it's more convenient.
Right. Well, and also they stopped a lot of programs because I remember, at the old institution where I was, they used to have like job fairs where they get to fill out applications and get to network with other people and different businesses and stuff. And sometimes they would bring back, ex-inmates who overcame. Like there was one guy, he was serving 25 years to life, gave the life sentence back, and he owned his own business. It was another guy, Vince. He was an ex-inmate. He did very well. Was in an HVAC program or whatever, and succeeded. It was an apprenticeship program and everything like that, and is doing very well for himself. Sometimes you hear those stories, and sometimes we need to hear more of those stories and bring them back to the institution to let these guys know that they've been in the same place that you're in, and they made it. You can make it as well.
Right. I know that Vince had a very strong support system too. Yeah. He was a really good guy. A lot of people, we can't say that everybody will have that opportunity. So Patterson is saying he has what you said.
No, I didn't.
Wesley, I do agree with what you're saying, but again, the trauma has to be addressed.
I've never said nobody can make it from what they're going through. I never said that. What I'm saying is our people own the least of everything. So when you just saying, oh, get out there and want to do it, if you don't have a lot of the times somebody or something trying to at least help uplift you while you're going through that transition, that's where a lot of people get stuck at and they feel hopeless. The reason why they feel hopeless is because when you are at the bottom of the barrel, unless you get into like some type of situation that's willing to help you and give you a chance, then it's almost hard to get out of that. I'm not saying, 100% of men and women that go to prison, nobody has a comeback.
Who's getting you into the program?
I don't know.
Yourself.
Some people are.
Yourself. You have to be willing to embrace all of this help and support that's out there. Like, you can't expect it to just fall in their lap. I mean, Pastor has a
It ain't about yourself. It's somebody else that connected to them somewhere along the line.
Right, and that's what I'm saying. So when I come with the resources, right? I have this list because I got my state car. I went out to all of these people. I'm like, bam, I got these programs. Like, let me tell you something. I have a guy. I see him every week because he's homeless. He's homeless by choice. Right. He's homeless by choice. It's a lot more convenient for him to panhandle. Yeah. He can say flat out and say, I can make $150 a day standing up here on the corner for Pulaski. Okay. Then to get a job, right? So I've gone out of my way, especially in the winter, to make sure this guy has somewhere to stay. Using every single resource, beg, barter, steal, and every opportunity that I can. But I cannot change his mentality. Right. If he does not want to be in any of these situations, he's just not going to do it because it's a lot easier and better for him to do $150. Yes, and on top of that, he gets his SSI. He just does not care. So we're going to go to the meeting. My uncle keeps telling me about this. We're going to go, Wesley, and you're going to be my date. It's the the last Wednesday of the month. We're going. Don't duck me out. I think it's at 6:00. So I'm
gonna tell you this. For somebody to want to buy into something, they have to understand it first. As somebody and they have to believe in it first. You want to know what? It's so many different levels of why our kids are doing bad in school. First of all, a lot of them don't believe in the education system because they see a lot of population of their mothers and fathers going to school, and then after high school, they still got the lowest quality jobs. So they looking at it like, school not popping. My mother went to school and she working at Walmart. My mother might have graduated from high school and she had Popeyes. So when you got people who look at and they don't believe in the system at a high level, and the system, one, is failing you at a high level because, one, we got kids graduating from high school that can't read, write, or count on that grade level, which then turn around and you can't get accepted into the high-end schools or go to a high-level education level. You can't get accepted into the big program. If you go, I keep saying this, if you go look at Baltimore City public school system, our schools are ranked at a level, was D, they just bumped it up to a C academically, but our kids are ranked at a level B plus athletically. Why do you think our kids not going to the top schools to play football and basketball and soccer and baseball? You know why? Because we can't compete academically. You know why? They're not buying into the academics. They're not sold into it. So how do you get a child to buy into it when, one, they feel like the system has failed their mother, their father, their sisters, their brothers? You got to get the person to buy into it first before you can get them to want to do it.
So, honey bunny, we are jumping from children to adults. We were just talking about
it's the same thing because those kids turn into adults.
They do, but the approach is definitely going to be a lot different because children.
That's not true. It's not true.
Children don't make.
Just because you're 40 don't mean your mind is you have grown mentally.
However, children don't get to make a lot of these decisions on their own. They have people who are in control of those decisions for them. When you talk about adults, those adults are responsible for themselves. And I'm just saying that, you don't have somebody saying, okay, Johnny, you're 40. You just got out of jail and this, and this is what you're going to be doing. A lot of times that's not what they do. And even as probation agents, we only are a liaison between them and the courts.
So you think because he's 40 years old, he grew up mentally?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. We're saying the same exact thing. I am not refuting anything that you're saying, but what I'm saying is So what I'm saying is, when you're talking about children and you're talking about adults, that's two different populations. I'm not saying that they're not suffering or they're not plagued with the same issues, but what I am saying is you're going to be approaching it much differently. When you have these children, you also have to consider their households, people who are able to make decisions for them. When you're talking about these adults, that's something totally different. And they have their own self-will and determination to participate or not. If we have these children in school, we can take this holistic approach. We can shove it down their throats.
So you don't think peer pressure affects adults? You don't think that system?
No,
Yo,
I'm
what
not
I'm saying is,
that
no. What I'm saying is, if you are a young man who get incarcerated at 17 and then you come out at 27, you are considered a grown man. You still, majority of the times, are suffering from the same things you went in when you were 17.
Your brain doesn't mature until you're 26. We know that when you incarcerate people, a lot of times when you have traumatic events, period, your development and your mental stops at that point.
Right.
We know that. We know that.
Because even though he's coming out at 27, he still has the mindset of a 17-year-old.
That's what I said.
And so we're not arguing.
We are saying the
No,
same.
she making it seem like when you grown, you just supposed to automatically know.
I am
She
not.
was saying that as a child, you have a parent that's raising a
No,
child.
I ain't know her.
And we going on a date.
Ain't no
That's
hug,
just
no.
as a parent is raising a child, and a parent put the child through its path. The child doesn't pick its path.
Exactly.
We try to take them down a straight path. Sometimes the child might veer off and do what they want to do, and sometimes the parents bring them back. You know, that's what she's saying. Y'all are saying the same exact thing.
Yes,
You are. You are.
And we're going to have a table on June 29th in honor of National HIV Testing Day. We're going to have a table out there, and the event is going to be at Pimlico Racetrack. We are saying the same exact thing. What I'm saying is that adults have more control over the decisions that they make and things that they take advantage of. That's what I'm saying. They have more control over that. So even though he doesn't know, he's grown and all of these other things, we have to educate him. We can feed him all of these resources, or her. We can do all of these things for these people, but they have to want it for themselves.
So how are we using the holistic approach? Because first of all, the reason why you can't grab these kids is because they're going back into the communities and they're going back into the home where their mother and father is just as mentally low as they are. So when you talk about, you gotta reach the mother and father. That's what I'm saying.
It will reach the parents as well as the children. But again, you're still going to be doing things differently for those two target groups of people.
That's not what I said.
Wesley, I love you.
No.
Wesley, when you were a young Wesley,
Go ahead.
you couldn't make all of the decisions on your own, right? Your mother, despite her situation, was in control of that for you.
Made the worst ones.
Okay, and I'm not refusing.
She made the worst ones because mentally she never grew up. Her age got older, but her mind never
we know
developed.
about the
So
trauma
she
in
got
her.
me dumped out here. All right, go ahead. She dumped it. She threw me in the I got fried. I got roasted out here because of decisions that my mother made because mentally she never developed. Mentally she was a child, but her age kept growing. All right, go ahead. What you guys say? Her age kept growing, her mind didn't. So the decisions she made for her kids weren't good.
Exactly.
All right, what's up?
We're not refuting that, right?
Good point.
So as that young Wesley, you suffered from all of the bad decisions that your mother made because she was in control of that. But then as you start growing into the man Wesley that you are, despite some of the decisions that you made, once you got control of your decisions, you were able to make better decisions. You did things
No, it didn't happen just like that. It didn't happen just like somebody had to invest in me and show me the right way first for me to make the right decision.
But the whole point is, when you were a growing Wesley, You were making decisions that were messed up, that were taking you on the wrong path or whatever.
Because I didn't know the right one.
Stand by. Exactly. But again, the point that I'm making is your mother was in control of it for a while. Then here you are. You were able to take over. Someone invested in you. Someone brought you those resources. But did you have the self-will and determination to change to become the 33-year-old Wesley you are today? Yes or no, Wesley?
That's not how it
Yes
happened.
or no, Wesley?
No, that's not how it happened.
Wesley,
How did it happen?
get out of here.
Tell your story then. Tell your version of what she.
That's not how it happened,
How it
bro.
happened? How it happened?
She trying to make it
happened?
seem like because I got older.
No,
No.
that's not what I
I
said.
could have made these same
Ain't
decisions.
it, Darlene?
I could have
What's
made
up
these
with
same
Darlene?
decisions if I had somebody investing and teaching the same things to me when I was younger. I know some little kids that can read better than adults because their mother, father, grandmother, aunt, or whoever is investing in them. So that decision making is more developed at that time because what was invested in them as a young individual.
Wesley, honey,
It don't matter how old I got. Nobody
somebody
ever
else
developed.
had control over that.
Somebody invested in you to help you build who you are today. Am I correct?
It don't matter. She making no age.
But I'm asking you.
No.
I said
She
even
told me
as
as
a
I got
grown
older.
Wesley. That's because that's what happened. You didn't stay 6. You didn't stay 10 when you got into a 14,
No, it was the
15-year-old.
investment.
Exactly, but that's what I'm saying.
I don't understand why
As
you bringing age into it.
Because as you got older, you acquired more control over your decision making. And when somebody did bring that investment to you, you were then better able to use it to become the person you are today. You didn't even stay the age of the person who had the investments put into you. And now that you have those investments, you have control over who you are, who you're going to become, and all of that. You've been able to make that change, and you can also effectuate change in the life of Elijah. So now you have control over what Elijah is getting. So he can't stand up and say, oh, Wesley, I'm not trying to do that. That's whack. I'm not doing it. Because as his guardian, you have control over his situation. As he gets older, the control will become his, and he will have decisions to make. That's all I'm saying. Now, what's not true? What's not true?
Because you can have a good mother or good father that think they control their child, and you've been as best as a mother and father as you want to be, and your son and daughter can still go out here and act a fool. Or you can be a parent that is not a good parent, and your child, because of what he or she is learning outside of that household, can make the decision to do the right thing. What I'm saying is, this is about the influence. The influence and the structure, wherever it's coming from, that's given to that young individual until adulthood, is what happens. No matter if you're 14 or if you're 40, that certain level of influence that is embedded in you is what allows you to grow and develop into the person that you are.
I am not refuting.
All right, so we need to move on because I don't know what you're trying to say. Like, it's like you should try to argue with me for no reason.
No.
And because you gonna chime right in with some girl power. I saw you sneak your hand up in girl power. You thought I wasn't looking, but I saw you from my peripheral. Y'all got me on this radio going off, but they don't understand what y'all doing in this office. I'm on to it. I'm on it.
We do not have a secret code.
I'm on it.
We do not have
I'm
a
on it,
secret
y'all.
handwriting.
Y'all might listen in and think what's going on. I'm on it. They ain't here to try to gang on me. I'm on it.
That is not true. We do not have any secret handshakes or hand waves or anything. We're definitely saying the same thing. But what we are, as an adult, as an older person, as a person, even a pre-adolescent, and let's get back to your comment about the children who are raised in these good homes and they still make decisions. So, if your child is 14 or 15 and they go out here and they do something that causes someone to be injured and there's an order of restitution, who pays for that, Wesley? Damn sure not the child without a job. So when they're truant and it's time to go to court, who are they holding responsible for that kid not getting to school? The parent, exactly. So the parent has control over the situation to an extent. When those children start to get into adolescent, my uncle said he got your back, nephew. Listen, don't be trying to have all that testosterone flowing in here. This is girl power.
That's what the listeners don't know. They be on some girl power, women power stuff, trying to gang up, trying to make it seem like I ain't on point. But I'm on point. Y'all not gonna back me down the head. I know what's going on. It's you can't just be like, oh, they grown now, so they better know better. No, bro. If they was never taught this or shown this, it don't matter how old they get.
I didn't say that they know better. I said that they can take advantage of these resources because they have more control over what they're doing. That's all I said. But anyway, let's get back to the unruly children who are making these decisions. So when they get to be teenagers and all of that, we know that we send them outside of our homes. We taught them things that we think that they should know, things that we wanted them to know, things that will help them be morally sound and make great decisions. But when they get around their friends, they get some little peer pressure, and they might smoke a joint. They might do some things that cross the line and break the law even. But even still, when that happens, you have the parent who is held responsible for that. They can't pay for home detention. They can't pay for lawyers. They can't pay for restitution. They can't pay unless they have a job. And that's if they're even old enough. But the parent has the control over the narrative for that time. That's the point that I'm making. Once they get to be 18 years old, then they have more control over that situation and what they are going to do with these resources, right? And even if they want to be a rebel and they don't want to do what their parents say, they have places for children like that as well. And somebody else.
I'm not doing no polls. He's over here looking at me watching.
Wesley, we're not even looking at each other or talking to each other.
No, I don't bang with her.
You don't bang
with her. She over here trying to co-sign everything you say. Like
Wesley, but you can't agree with me.
No.
We don't have to argue and disagree all the time, especially when we're saying the same thing.
We're not saying the same thing.
We are, and our goals and everything for our community is the same. It's all important.
You get that? We're not saying the same thing though, but you get that.
We definitely are saying the same thing. Okay, I don't know, but we can't keep giving ignorance control over what we're doing as a community. And you pretty much said that when you started off the conversation. Well, no, we weren't on air. But we can't keep allowing that to be the excuse why we aren't being elevated. Because again, we're going to work together. We're going to get these lists of resources and we're going to work it. And let's see how it goes.
Well, but again, I have to always go back to, I'm not saying other people don't know history. I'm not saying other people I don't know what other people know. But I hear a lot of people just make comments and it don't sound like they understand trauma. It don't sound like they understand how ACEs work. It don't sound like they understand systematic oppression. It don't sound like they understand the level of how these schools are failing academically. It don't sound like they understand how we've been shut out when it's time to you deal with healthcare. It don't sound like people understand the bad housing loans and the structures that are set up to keep us failing. It don't sound like that people understand we are still mentally enslaved to a high extent. It don't sound like people don't understand how the media is set up against us, whereas though it's more Caucasians do certain things, but it's only painted in the media, whereas though it's being only broken down by Black Americans. It don't sound like people understand that when you put two doll babies in front of a child, a lot of these Black kids will pick the Black doll baby as being bad and the white one as being good because that has been trained and taught into their mind. No, don't say we, say maybe you.
Okay.
The larger society might not understand, and this is the reason why we are so separated at a high level and we are falling and failing because people don't understand what is against us. People think it's just, get up and go do this. And you don't understand the high levels of trauma that have been embedded in our people. Just like I am one advocate for women, especially Black women. I am one of the biggest advocates for y'all when men say, Black women got the bad attitudes. Black women too aggressive. Black women always this, black women always that. But my argument is what has happened to our black women to make them high level of aggression? What has happened to make them on guard? What has happened to make them be like protective and like this? It's a reason and it's a why for why people act and react the way that they do. If you look at the black community, there are more black successful women than there are black successful men. If you take away sports, our black men don't have a chance compared to what black women are doing. This has happened from systematic oppression, which leads into our mentality.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt.
But I don't think average people not paying that no mind.
Okay, but when we approach them, because both of our programs are trauma informed.
What you saying?
I'm not saying anything.
Yeah.
I agree exactly what you said. I'm a bow down.
Right.
West New York is. You are
Exactly.
absolutely right, baby.
Exactly.
You got that.
We are agreeing with you. Both of our programs are designed around a trauma informed. I don't even know what to say because I don't want to argue with you, especially when we're saying the same exact thing.
Oh, yeah, just be saying, yep, we agree.
Yeah, but listen, this is a show of girl power, so I don't care. Even if I have to argue, I will. I'm a Capricorn,
But we're
never wrong. I'm just playing. But so anyway, back to the seriousness of this issue. So the more, the higher you score in these average childhood experiences, you're more inclined to have academic failure, problems with school attendance, and school behavior concerns. And when you have 3 or more, you have a decreased readiness for school, which we don't refute that. People who have 2 or more of these events are 2.7 times more likely to repeat a grade. And if you have 0 of them, you are 2.6 times as likely to report always being engaged in school. So we are not refuting what is actually happening here. I'm going to show you something that I'm looking at. So when you have these adverse childhood experiences. So I can't turn it. So let me back up. So it's saying, of course, you have that social, emotional, and cognitive impairment, which we're not disagreeing with. And then you have the adoption of health risk behaviors, and then you have the immune activity, which leads to the disease, the disability, the social problems, and early death. So what we are just talking about, what we were talking about prior to coming online, we were talking about how people don't really attribute your environment, your neighborhood, and all of that to these adverse childhood experiences and why we're having the issue that we have with the higher incarceration.
They don't want to attribute it to it, especially a certain population of people. They don't want to. You know why they don't want to? Because when you had to contribute things like that, you had to now admit and address certain things.
I agree.
Certain groups of people don't want to admit. They don't want to address. They want you to stay a certain way. So are they going to attribute, these people living in high poverty? These people living where it's full deserts? Yo, certain communities, you can't drive up or down the block to get a healthy meal. You gotta eat fast food every day, all day. People don't look at how that affects your community. Yo, it affects the lifespan of your life and your children's lives and your grandparents' lives when you eat the most unhealthy food. It gives you high levels of disease. Number 2, people not paying attention. If you go to certain counties, it don't matter if it's a Super Bowl or the NBA Finals going on. After 10 o'clock, you can't find no alcohol. But if you in the city, there's an alcohol store daggone there on every other corner. Do you not understand the high level of effect that is putting on our communities when you can walk to the liquor store at 1 in the morning, 2 in the morning, 6 in the morning to continue your addiction and your drug habit?
Yes.
People not understanding this, but certain communities, after a certain time, you can't find liquor. And then even if it is a liquor store in that community, it's not another one for a bunch of miles. So everybody got to go to that one liquor store, and then that one liquor store closed at a certain time. But if you go in the hood, yo, it's liquor stores in every community.
We have to understand what drives that. We have to look at zoning. We have to look at the quality of life. We have to look at the education level of people in those communities. When they are trying to put those types of businesses in their neighborhoods, those people are there, they're lobbying, they're like, hell no, you're not bringing it to us, we don't want it, right? But as Black people or impoverished people, a lot of times they don't even know that those meetings are happening. They don't even know that they have that power.
They don't, exactly. And plus, they don't believe in voting. And that is one of the biggest problems as well. Our people have stopped even thinking and caring about voting because they think it don't count.
Right.
But that's what they want you to do. They want you to not have your voice be heard. They want you not to be like, oh, I don't care. They want you to give up your seat. They want you to give up your voice. Because when you don't use your voice, you won't be heard. When you're not heard, things won't be put in position for your people to have a better position. I tell people all the time, you got to stop saying, oh, I ain't getting involved in the government because the government ain't going to help me. As long as you don't get involved, your voice won't be heard. As long as your voice ain't heard, you can't make changes. If you don't join things like a police force, you can't police your own community. You can't help change that structure. If you don't become lawyers, you can't create or change policies. If you don't join state senates and delegates and city halls, if you don't infiltrate these things, your voice not heard. If your voice not heard, you can't become a person that create, make, or change laws. It's going to stay in place. We got to stop having this mentality. Again, I'm going back to mentality. We got to stop having this mentality that, oh, after that, I don't care. I ain't getting a part of that because it's not going to benefit me. As long as we think like that, it's going to stay against us. We have to become people in position that can create, change, remake, rebuild laws, structures, foundations, corporations, businesses, organizations. We have to become producers. We have to become creators. We got to stop being the number one consumers. Look it up. We are number one in consumption and last in production. We got to change that. And the only way you change that is to get to the mindset. That, like, seriously. We got to stop, yo.
I said it's the mindset.
Exactly. That's what we've been saying the whole entire time. You know, but Wesley just want to keep arguing with it.
Yeah, that's just like the lady in Arkansas. Did you see it when she was talking about her son that she was so glad that he left?
Yes.
Oh, yes, that was so touching.
The council lady, and she had it slapped down. They were trying to do stand your ground law, or whatever. And her son was a victim of that, and she was saying, you know, we have to look at this much differently, and she was able to get that abolished in her state. So it was excellent. So she was in that position, and she was able to have.
I think she's like the only
Black person. Yeah.
So this stuff happens. One more point, real quick, because right now technology is taking over.
Right.
Technology has been taking over for like the past couple of years now.
Yes.
Black people aren't getting into these technology fields because our kids are running from science, math, and what is it, like geometry or something like that. Science, math, and there's one more. Our kids are running away from these type of educational structures.
They don't have the support in the school to strengthen those skills.
Right. So it's always a while. So now, since technology is the fastest growing industry, a lot of these tech companies are putting out articles saying their hiring field can't be diverse to meet quotas because they don't have a hiring field to pick from when it comes to people of color. So we gotta be able to put this information out there and tell our kids, like, yo, we on phones all day. We watching TV all day. We on computers all day. We going to the stores and using this technology all day. We gotta be able to work these jobs.
We need to be able to tap into money that will allow parents to send their children to these STEM programs. There are several free ones. Again, that needs to be a list of resources that are available to the community. And we just have to work as a community to make these things known and relevant within our community. So I'm not in disagreement with you at all. You know, a lot of people, you know, they look at what's common, what's happening. Black children don't play baseball. You have to be more affluent to even be interested in playing that sport. Black people aren't playing soccer.
Baseball checks are gigantic.
I know, I have my
We
son
we
in it.
we running towards football all the time. That's cool. Football is a good sport. That's paying us. But baseball players are taking way less damage and got way bigger checks.
Yes.
Baseball players checks blow. Football players checks out the water.
And it's guaranteed
Baseball
money.
players get guaranteed money. Football players don't get guaranteed money. Baseball players take less damage to their body. Football players take big damage to their body. So we pushing our kids all the way only to football and basketball, not understanding. That's another problem. Yo, it's other sports out here. Soccer, they get big checks in soccer.
But people go to what's easy. People go to what they know. They go to things that's
Again,
normal.
information. Let's get it out there.
Definitely. So I'm gonna see how we can get a pool of resources going. So Mr. Griggs is saying the Park Heights Association has shut down most of the liquor stores at 10 p.m., which is excellent.
Awesome. Say that again.
The Park Heights Renaissance the Park Heights Association, has shut down most of the liquor stores at 10 p.m.
Thank you, sir, or the Park Heights Association for the hard work that y'all have put in to do that, because that has made a huge difference. I promise you it has. Some people might not understand it because they looking at it like, oh, I can't get my beers and my liquor to watch my game. That has made a huge difference in that community. I promise you it has. Thank you.
All right. So Mr. Gallup is saying that's what the system anticipates. You know, all of these things that stand in the way of progression. So Ms. Young is saying, plus most of the teachers or professors are foreign and there is a language barrier. And I agree with that.
That's big. That's
I
big.
agree with that.
A lot of these kids can't connect to these teachers, and the teachers can't connect to them. I'm not going to say a lot of these teachers don't care, because I believe they do, but it's such a large disconnect that they can't even properly communicate or get the kids to listen to them, because you got a large population of black young men and black young girls, and then you got a young white girl or young white male coming in that can't relate to them on no aspect, trying to teach them, and they just don't connect to them. But again, that's why I tell our people we have to become more qualified. We got to get this information out there, because for us to get better, we got to get more black male teachers in these schools to help these young men and young girls to connect to them, to relate to them, to motivate and uplift them. Am I saying white people can't teach us or show us things if they really care? That's not what I'm saying. But it's harder for the young kids to connect to somebody that just don't understand them.
A more holistic approach, because you're not going to be able to just turn over a school system and stuff like that, especially, you know, with people, you know, graduating from college, having their choice, that we can't control.
Of course.
But if we took a more holistic approach, and we had programs that were in that school, after school programs, that could help with that. If we had money going into STEM programs to help our children become more interested in it, and understanding that computers go beyond gaming, it's more than that, then we can kind of make a difference in these lives. But again, we have to be able to lobby for space and opportunities in these school programs. All they care about is academics, because they have goals and achievements that they have to make from an educational standpoint. But again, I think building these things into into these school programs, these after school programs, these community programs, because, you know, you have housing developments. A lot of those places have rec centers. Let's go approach one of them, because I know that when that Freddie Gray money came out, I went to a couple of those meetings when I was interning. They have a lot of money in which they were using community organizations that already existed within the community, and they were going to put that money into those programs so that they can make the services and things like that for that particular neighborhood more robust and effective. So, I mean, we can do the same thing. If we have to pick one zip code at a time, we can do a needs assessment, find out what programs, what services, what churches, what schools, whatever is in that area. We can hold a little town hall. We can see what people are willing and are not willing to do. We have connections, you know, in a lot of different places. We can just be that group that brings it together and we can try. I mean, that's all we can do. And we have to go with the approach that we want to get to the children and the parents, because the parents control the narrative of these younger children. So if the parents don't know, we have to educate them enough for them to be involved and invested in their children. So we're getting down to the last clip. We'll have about 6 minutes left to talk. This has been very enlightening, even though Wesley don't want to agree that we have been saying the same thing and we are in agreement. I am going to give him a big hug. We will be at that meeting on the last Wednesday of this month, Uncle, so we can look at some reentry things. We're actually going to come out and have a table on June 29th, aren't we, Wesley?
Yeah, don't talk to me now. Talk to
We do have girl power. We may need to get some type of hand signal or let Wesley know that we are serious up in here, but we are definitely this is a really good topic, and I mean we could probably talk about this forever, but make sure you know about adverse childhood experiences and how they are affecting people who are close to you. Make sure you are sending your resources to openwideradioshow@gmail.com. If you have things that you can invite myself and Wesley out to, we're willing to do that. We won't argue when we get in public. This is just our platform to do that. But this has been very enlightening. I want to thank everybody who does come on and support us every Monday night and listen to what we have to say, chime in, give your share your experiences, share your thoughts. We really do appreciate that. Wesley, what do you have to say?
All right, so closing out, I want to say, yeah, we had a little disagreement, but actually, just communicating. But I'm big on not judging people. Know the why first before you sit there and judge somebody. A young girl that was raped as a child may act out a certain way during her life as a woman. Another young girl that was raped as a child might become a major advocate for people who have been raped and molested. That's how she deals with her pain, her frustration. But the other girl might, not be whole anymore. She might become a drug addict or somebody who robs and steals, or she might sell her body. A young man that has been abused mentally and emotionally as a child might act out a certain way. But another young man who was mentally emotionally abused might become, somebody strong. Everybody's different and everybody don't handle things the same way. So the pain, the frustration, and abuse that you might have suffered that made you stronger might have broken somebody else. That's why you have drug addicts. That's why you have people suffering from alcoholism or gambling or sex addicts and things like that. So don't look at somebody and judge their situation and circumstance if you don't know what they've been through. Ask and figure out somebody's why. Try to help somebody. Try to motivate. Try to uplift. Try to support somebody before you look down on someone, because you never know what you might go through. Your husband, your wife, your son, or your daughter. I know some people who have a lot of resources and they're well off, but their son and daughter might be on drugs or incarcerated. So what you might not have went through, you have escaped, your child might suffer and go through. So don't look down on nobody, because I know a lot of people who are fighting through that. And I am glad that I was able to get somebody that invested in me, that helped my life turn around, and I turned out to be, a positive, motivated, uplifting man that I am today. But I wasn't this as a child, and I never want that to be mistaken. Aisha, where we at?
This was very deep and very intense. I agree with what Wesley is saying wholeheartedly. You can't judge a book by its cover. We're human and it's natural for us to do that, but there's always a reason behind it. Be supportive, be there, uplift some people, make somebody laugh, make somebody smile, because you never know what somebody's going through throughout the day.
Definitely. Suicide is really common nowadays. So we definitely want to make sure we're looking out for one another. If you have something, share it. Even if someone can get further than you can, just be that source of information and guidance and support. But more so, make sure you're holding people accountable and letting them know that they hold the narrative to their lives. So if they don't know, tell them a little bit, give them a little something. Just be a support for one another. So that's going to be it for us tonight. Make sure you're following us, Open Wide Radio Show on Facebook and Instagram. Make sure you're hitting up our individual organizations, oneanddoneprograms.org and dearnolita.org. Is that your website, Wesley? Okay. All right. So make sure you're following us. Make sure you hit us up every Monday night, 7 to 9 p.m. You can follow us on YouTube. You can download the app. We have some pretty exciting things coming up. We'll have a guest speaker next week. She's going to be coming to talk to us about some things that she's doing in the community. Again, we appreciate you following and listening and chiming in. Wesley and I, we really do love each other. Don't get it twisted. We don't be arguing for real. So even if we disagree, he knows that girl power is in the building. So that's it for us tonight. We'll see you next week. Stay tuned.
Let's see, y'all. We didn't move into meeting Saturday.
Is this Saturday? Yeah.
It was be Friday, but I rescheduled it because we both had what's name. If I'd have known that, I would have. What that? Hey, what's your problem?
I'm just looking at you. I'm just looking at you. You see how you, what he asked you, you see how you took over in his life? You see that?
Yeah. And then you couldn't even say yes or no. It was a simple answer, yes or no. You didn't control it when you was younger, but when you